Really excited to be here today, talking some repair.org and right to repair issues with our locally Assemblyman, Jordan Cunningham. And Jordan, thanks so much for joining us. It's really a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Absolutely, yeah. So my name's Dan Revoir. I work with the iFixit Pro team here at iFixit, and we're heavily involved in repair.org type issues. And we're just really trying to do our best to help local community members, business owners, repair shop owners, DIYers learn about the political process and how to engage. And so we're really honored to be able to have your presence here, kind of bounce a couple of ideas off of you, questions about how to engage, what sort of advocacy activities work. And we really look forward to learning a little bit from you through this process.
Thanks, Dan.
I want to hop into a couple of questions that we hear often from repair shop owners that are in the iFixit Pro network who are helping with the repair.org mission. And really we're just trying to learn how accessible you are. So you guys can be a little intimidating. And I think folks are scared to talk to us.
News to me.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because you're sitting there thinking, hey, I'm a normal guy. I've been talking to my neighbors for years. This is my life. It's no big deal. But for some reason, that flips upside down when you talk to folks out there in the world. So the first question we've got is, many people think their voice, many people may not think their voice matters with their legislature. Is that true? How do they get in touch with you?
I don't think it's true at all. And, it's actually quite the reverse. When we're representing a district, a city, whatever it is, in my case, a region with 475,000 people in it, from San Miguel down to Lompoc. I mean, it's 100 miles north to south. I mean, a lot of people, big area. I'm trying to figure out especially on tricky issues, you want to make good policy, but you want to represent the people you're there to represent.
Yeah.
And that requires getting input from them.
You mentioned Facebook, email, some of the different mechanisms to reach out. And I think it's important for folks to just realize whatever means is easiest and most comfortable for them is probably the right means, right? They can give you a phone call. Yep. They can come to your office. If they request a meeting, they'll get it. Emails work. And, we talk a lot with folks. We've been running big campaigns trying to motivate folks to email in. And so there's definitely some concern about whether or not those types of coordinated efforts become spammy to your office. Do you guys experience that? What's your take on, let's say, a large barrage of messages from folks? What makes it work the best? Should they put in a personal note? Should they?
I mean, of course, right? If there's a big contentious bill coming up, and you get 190 emails that all are essentially form emails.
Sure.
That people are working
right.
They're ginning up the grassroots and all that, and that's fine. It doesn't mean you don't consider it or read it and take it into account. But yeah, I think the more personal contact, the better.
Okay. We've seen a couple of shop owners do a really good job articulating, like I mentioned earlier when we were chatting, how they found economic success by starting their own business, right? That really is a powerful message. And if their business is being stifled by a large corporation who doesn't want to have competition, that probably resonates, I think, with a lot of electeds who want to help the businesses in their community. So
that's right.
That's great.
And a lot of us are in this to help people like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we're the same people, right?
If you're, Walmart or Costco, I mean, you're gonna be all right, right? I mean,
I'd imagine, yeah.
You can kind of absorb regulation. You can hire lawyers and lobbyists. It's really the small business owner that has to be represented, I think, and the effect on things we do in Sacramento needs to be carefully considered on small business.
Right. You represent the voice, amplify the voice that is otherwise kind of the quietest one, because they don't have the ability to amplify it on their own, unlike some of these larger businesses.
I mean, every corporation has a lobbyist.
Right.
Every single one.
Yeah. So that's a good segue actually to the next kind of area questions. One is, if I wanted to introduce a bill in my state, what should I do? Can an individual have an effect on specific legislation?
Some of our best bill ideas are things that come from the district. People bring it in, they encountered this or that problem. So yes, you can affect it. Some of the best bill ideas come from the district, and the best way probably is to reach out to the point of contact for, in my case, my district director here in San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
And then we can work it up the chain.
Yeah, so there's
or sideways to the Capitol.
Right. There's layers of staff, some of which are in district and are immediately accessible to folks. And I think it's important to know, if you're out there, that you can look up, your local elected in your state legislature and figure out who the local person is who's in the district at the office there. Build a relationship with that person, and I think you'll find that maybe you feel even more at ease with them meeting, and then they'll introduce you to the elected official, and then it kind of grows from there. And that's really a good process.
And that's what they're for. Every legislator has sort of two offices, a capital office and a district office.
Okay.
And big districts, you have more than one district office. And the folks staffing the district office are there for constituent services.
Yeah.
And that is the reason they're there, to help people with problems with the state, to pass ideas along to their legislator. And when we're in session, the elected officials, we're sort of split between two different places because we're up in Sacramento quite a bit.
Right.
And so, the district level office is the best point of contact. And, I have very, very good staff. They're very attentive, and, we are as accessible and open as we possibly can be.
We talked a bit about kind of the larger businesses and how they have a position of strength. And so how do you feel personally when non-constituents like corporations or trade groups, sometimes grassroots lobbies, so repair.org is kind of in this picture a little bit, but is ultimately kind of built up by individuals in a district. So how do you feel like when a lobbyist comes and talks to you versus a group of grassroots people? How does that experience differ? And does it matter having a huge group of people come forward? Like, should we ensure that 50 small business owners from our district come and meet with you? Or does it help to have sort of one person be a spokesperson for the larger group?
So it can
it's
be
like a two-part question, I guess. How does it work with corporations, and what about the grassroots side?
It can be both. I think you need to sort of the best strategy for influencing. And there's sort of two parts to it. One is how do you want me to vote on certain bills that I'm voting on?
Right.
And then the other is, if I'm carrying legislation, how do you build the coalition and present the legislation in policy committee and all that sort of thing? Mm-hmm. So it's sort of a two-part, a two-front battle, I guess. But as far as, look, every corporation has a lobbyist. We have a very large state government. I mean, relative to other states, it's a large state. I mean, California is basically the size of the nation. It's the sixth largest economy. Mm-hmm. We have more people in California than they do in Canada.
Right.
I mean, it's a big state government. So whenever it's just sort of part of the world that you're going to have the people that are being regulated, are going to have advocates for them. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's part of the First Amendment.
Right.
You have the right to petition for redress of grievances with the
Absolutely.
government.
Yeah.
So I don't view lobbying as some dirty bad thing. But I will say this, for me personally, the California Small Business Association, the NFIB, National Federation of Independent, the groups that sort of speak for the smaller, lesser heard voices, I guess, for lack of a better term, mm-hmm. for the small businesses. There is strength in numbers, I'd say that. And especially if you are trying to advocate for a bill or a policy change in a formal committee hearing, there is definitely strength in numbers, and there is strength in, if you paraded 50 small business owners up that all briefly told a personal story in support of the bill, it can really influence people's votes.
Great, cool. What kind of relationship do you have with local businesses? You've talked a little bit about your background, your perspective, but how does it work in district? Are you willing to go visit one of these repair shops if they want to maybe give you an actual experience of the story rather than just telling it to you? They want to show you around their shop. Is that something you're willing to do?
Oh, absolutely. In my campaign last cycle, I toured 50 local businesses in 50 working days.
Okay.
So that's just kind of part of what I was doing to get this job, and I don't intend on it stopping. My time's a little more crunched than it used to be.
Sure.
But I think touring businesses it's fun. First of all, mm-hmm. You learn a ton about. Again, I know a lot about a few things, but I need to learn about all sorts of things.
Sure. Yeah.
And you hear the personal story, you get to meet employees. I mean, it's just a really fun thing to do.
So we're coming up on time, but I really just wanted to say thanks again. We're very excited to hear about different ways that folks can get involved. We want to remind everybody out there that they can get in touch with you by the means that is easiest for them. They can email, they can use social media, right? They can tweet, they can make a Facebook post on your page or send a message to you guys through that. Those means work. Phone calls are great. Meeting in district with folks is really easy if you're more comfortable with the one-on-one. You guys are accessible, and that's important for all the repair.org members to understand. They can reach out. That's an easy thing to do. When it comes to legislation, if we know about specific bill language and things, we should share that with you. We should get your team looking at that stuff so they can understand what specific policy changes we're talking about, so you can understand how it fits into your world. And then ultimately, we need to share our stories and talk about our business success, talk about why right to repair is important to us. And if we get the chance, and we're lucky enough, when you're available on a Friday, or we can time it with the legislative cycle, when you're in district for a greater amount of time, show you firsthand what these shops look like.
I'm excited about what you guys are doing. I'm glad to hear you're more engaged. I think those voices need to be heard in the system because, not to name any particular hardware manufacturer, but I have an iPhone. I think it's a quite great product.
Mm-hmm.
But their voices are getting heard.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Sure.
You don't have to worry about that. But you guys getting involved in the process is important and exciting. We're here to work for you, and we're here to solve problems for the district. And I think what is a unique this district, in addition to being the greatest place to live in America, in my biased,
I'm with you. Yep.
Humble opinion, it is also a neat district in that we really are a small business centered community. We really rely on that for our job growth, and we have a lot of exciting things going on in terms of agriculture, wine tourism, and tech. And with Cal Poly, and we have exponential growth potential here. So I'm excited to watch that happen and to try to play a positive role in helping it happen.
Great. Well, we really appreciate that perspective. I think that's probably shared by many of our repair shop owners in other districts around the United States, and we really hope that we're all as lucky to have someone like you serving nearby and somebody easy to talk to, and hopefully more and more of our folks are able to engage in the legislative process.
Well, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.